Hi, so welcome to Pure Yoga with a slight difference. We're going to be using a kettlebell today within the practice. So my kettlebell is actually a £10 kettlebell. Feel free to use whatever weight you wish, whatever weight you've got at home. If you haven't got a kettlebell, then you can use a dumbbell. So I'll leave that with you. We're going to be working quite strongly today. So if at any point you need to take a rest, take a rest. Make sure you have some water at hand. And make sure you're wearing trainers because of the weight of the kettlebell. For safety, we need to have those trainers on rather than be barefoot like we normally are in yoga. You will find that will give you a little bit more stability as well when it comes to moving around the mat with the kettlebell. So let's start. So let's come to laying down on the mat. Bring your kettlebell to the side of you so it's there ready for when we want to use it in this next pose. So bringing yourself all the way to the floor, lengthening the legs to the length of the mat, the arms down by the sides of the body, and like always we're going to start the practice just being mindful of the body. So just make sure the lower back's comfortable. Maybe you need to push into the heels, tuck the tailbone just to let that lower back sink a little more into the floor, and then just give a little rock of those hips from side to side. Let the feet drop out to the sides, let the palms face up, relax the shoulders down and away from the ears, take a close of the eyes and just take that mental scan of the body from the top of the head down to the fingertips, down to the toe tips. You've taken that mental scan of the body, bring the focus then to the breath and just take some long breaths in through the nose and a long sigh out through the mouth. Take another long deep breath in and a long sigh out through the mouth. So just using the nose or the mouth to continue to breathe. Those eyes are closed. You feel the weight of the body on the floor just for another couple of breaths. Making sure that body feels nice and relaxed, but also nice and strong, finding that place between strength and flexibility. So throughout this practice, make sure you think about the tethering of the ribs and the hips, the lower belly lift and the tailbone tucking, and the squeeze of the glutes as you move around the mat so we're fully core engaged around that mid-centre to protect that lower back. Start to bring the hands up and over the head, stretch through the fingers, bring the feet together, stretch through the toes. Just taking a moment, having a full body stretch. Maybe arching into that lower back, flaring the ribs for a moment. And then interlace the fingers, push that lower back into the mat, bring the feet over to your right side of the mat and your hands over to the right side of the mat and just take that lateral flexion of the spine, shoulder blades down, both sit bones down. Keep those shoulder blades relaxed. Breathe into that left rib cage. So just doing a little bit of spinal articulation before we start with the kettlebell, just to get a little bit of mobility through that spine. Come back to centre and then bring your hands and feet over to the left side of the mat and stretch that right side body. Making sure you're not arching in that lower back too much. The full back of the body is still grounded on the mat. We're just taking that banana shape, that moon shape on the floor. Breathe into that right rib cage, lengthen that right side body. And then bring both the feet and the hands back to the centre. Bring the arms out to a T shape, palms facing down. Take a bend into both knees. Just let that lower back flatten on the floor. And then just let the knees windscreen wipe to both sides. Over to the right side, back to centre, over to the left side. Just feeling that rotation through the waist, both shoulders grounded on the floor, so that movement comes from the waist down. The upper body stays nice and still. Just bringing that articulation through rotation. Just another couple of times to both ways. Still maybe keeping the eyes closed so you can go internally into the body and how that body feels. Relax the jaw, relax the shoulders. The next time you come back to center, just find the feet being hip width apart, soles of the feet flat. Bring the hands now by the sides of the body, palms facing down. On your in-breath, push into the feet, roll up one vertebra at a time, bringing those hips all the way up, those backs into extension. And then on your out-breath, slowly lower that bum back to the floor. In-breath, bring the knees into the chest and squeeze. Out-breath, bring the feet back to the mat. In-breath, push into the feet, raise the hips. Out-breath, release those hips back down. In-breath, knees into the chest, forehead to the knees. Then release those feet back down on your out-breath. One more, in-breath, lift the hips, full extension of the back. Out-breath, release those hips back to the floor. In-breath, bring the knees into the chest and squeeze to take you into flexion of the spine. And then release the feet back to the mat. So finding your kettlebell here, starting now with the practice of the kettlebell. Take a hold of the kettlebell in both hands. So we're wrapping our hands around the kettlebell arm. Bring that into the chest. Have the feet hip width apart and slowly lift your hips up into a bridge position. Find that bridge position first, making sure the knees are in line with the hips. The toes are in front of the heels. Not let those knees splay apart. And then lift that kettlebell up to the ceiling. Then bend the elbows and let the kettlebell come behind the back of the head. Lift the kettlebell back up and then bring it back to the chest. Lift that kettlebell up to the ceiling. Bend the elbows, bring the kettlebell behind the head. Bring that kettlebell back up to the ceiling and then that kettlebell comes back to the chest. We're going to do 8 more of these. Raise, bend the elbows, drop behind the head. Lift the hands back up to the ceiling and kettlebell back to the chest. 7 more. Push up, bend the elbows, kettlebell back. Push those hands back up to the ceiling, kettlebell back to the chest. 6 more. Keep squeezing those glutes as those hips are lifted. Back to the chest. 5 more. Push the kettlebell up. Let the kettlebell drop back with a bend in the elbows. Lift the kettlebell back up to the ceiling and bring it back to the chest. 4 more. Push with the hands. Drop the hands behind the head, bend the elbows. Lift the kettlebell back up and bring it back to the chest. 3 more. Keep squeezing those glutes. Keep those hips nice and high. Keep breathing, nice, long, easy breaths. 2 more. Push up, bend the elbows, let the kettlebell drop back. Lift the kettlebell up, kettlebell back to the chest. 1 more. Squeeze those hips a little higher. Drop the kettlebell back. Lift the kettlebell up. Bring the kettlebell back to the chest. Slowly let those hips come back down to the mat, nice and controlled. 1 vertebra at a time. Just let that kettlebell sit by the side of you. Bring the arms back to a T shape and then just windscreen wipe those legs from left to right just to neutralise that spine again. And we're going to take it into crunches with the legs lifted. We're going to take 10 crunches with one leg wrapped over the other, then swap the legs. So bring those knees back to the centre. Take a hold of the kettlebell. Same kind of grip, hands around the arm of the kettlebell. Raise both legs up to the ceiling. Wrap your right leg over your left. And we're going to take crunches, lifting the kettlebell up towards the toes. On your in-breath, push up and relax back down. Squeeze those glutes, squeeze those abdominals. We're doing 10 on this side, 8 more. Exhale, lift. Inhale, come back. 7 more. Exhale, lift. Inhale, come back. 5 more. Squeeze those abdominals as you lift. 4 more. 3 more. Keep pushing that kettlebell away on your exhale. And 1 more. Bring the kettlebell back to the chest. Release the feet to the floor. Just take a hold here just for a moment, just to settle back in. And then reach those feet again back up to the ceiling. This time, left leg wraps over the right. 10 on this side. Exhale, lift. Inhale, release. Exhale, lift. Lift those shoulders and heads away. Exhale, inhale, release. We have 8 more. Keep squeezing those abdominals. 6 more. 4 more. 2 more. Release the feet down. Bring the kettlebell down by the side of the body. Bring the knees into the chest. Give those knees a hug. Maybe just make some circles with the knees in one direction, just to loosen off those hips. And then take the circles the opposite way. Squeeze those knees back into the chest. Take a hold of the creases of the knees. Rock up and down the spine a couple of times, up to seated once, back down, up to seated twice, and back down. And on the third time, find your seat. Bring your seat into the middle of the mat. Take a hold of the kettlebell, holding again onto the sides of the arms of the kettlebell, and just let yourself lean back slightly, finding that balancing point. So we're going into Navasana boat pose, doing Russian twists. So if you want to keep the toes down, feel free to do so. If you want to challenge it more, lift up both feet so they come to a knee height position. Knees stay bent. And then take it from side to side. We're going to do a total of 20, 10 on each side. So out to the right, drop it down to the floor, back to center. Out to the left, drop to the floor, back to center. That's 1. So 10 in total. That's 2. Out to the right, keep those nice firm legs. 3. And then we're taking our 4th on both sides. 5th on both sides. Keep that rotation coming from the waist. The pelvis is staying nice and grounded to the mat. We have 4 more on each side. 3 more. 2 more. Remember, them toes can be down on the floor if it's getting too challenging for the hip flexors. 1 more. Back to center, hold it there for a breath. And then release those feet to the floor, the kettlebell to the front of the mat, so it's ready for our next position. Just give those knees a squeeze. Maybe tuck those chins into the chest, round through the spine, feeling that compression through the hips, the length down the back of the body, just to stretch that lower back. We're going to make our way now onto our hands and knees. So either swing the legs around or tuck the feet under, a little bit more challenging with trainers. Step your feet back, find that place of tabletop. And we're just going to do a little spinal articulation in tabletop just to relax off that back. So finding your extension on your inhale, so let the belly drop to the floor, tailbone lifts, lift the gaze, shoulders roll back, and then take it back in the opposite direction, chin comes into the chest, and that tailbone lifts. 3 more in both directions. Breath in, lifts up the gaze, lifts up the tailbone. Breath out, we took everything in, chin to chest. 2 more. Soften through the elbows, but push into those hands. And 1 more. Come to a neutral place. Come down onto the forearms. Interlace. Sorry, just bring the forearms so they're in train tracks, palms face down. Step yourself back to a forearm plank. Now, if when you step back this is too challenging, you can just drop the knees down slightly. But if you're with me, keep the knees lifted, squeeze the bum, draw the belly back, and we're going to go for touch of the kettlebell with opposite hands, doing 10 on each side, so a total of 20. So make sure you're nicely aligned, elbows underneath the shoulders. And then take a tap with the right hand, bring the right hand back. Tap with the left, that's 1. And 2, try and keep the body stable. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, opposite tapping hands, 8, 9, and 10. Interlace the fingers now, push the hips up, walk the feet in towards you, finding dolphin pose for a couple of breaths. Nice and strong through the shoulders, toes in front of the heels, lifting the hips as high as you can, trying to put that chest cavity in towards the shoulder blades and then pushing it towards the thighs. Holding here just for another couple of breaths. And then bring those knees back down into a tabletop. Come back up onto the hands, untuck the toes. Let's take a little rotation in movement. On your breath in, right hand lifts. On your breath out, thread between the left hand, left knee, right ear to the mat. Breath in, lift and open. Breath out and thread. Breath in, lift and open. Breath out and thread. This time hold that right ear down to the floor, support with the right forearm. Maybe lift that left hand up to the ceiling. Hold it for a breath. Bring your left hand back down, make your way back into tabletop to take that movement on the other side. Breath in, left hand lifts. Breath out, rotate, left hand between right hand, right knee. Breath in, left hand lifts. Breath out, rotate. Breath in and lift. Breath out, rotate, bring that left ear to the mat. Maybe support with the left forearm if you want to raise that right hand up to the ceiling. Turning and rotating through the shoulders, through the waist. Knees heavy on both sides to the mat. Bring the right hand down, find your way back to tabletop. Find your way to down dog. Lift up the hips and squeeze the heels back. So choice to stay in down dog for a breath just to find some restorative breathing, or take a vinyasa with me, coming forward to plank. Choice to drop the knees if you need to, or hover to the floor. Roll over the toes a little harder in trainers, and then take yourself back to down dog, lifting the hips, squeezing the heels back. If you stayed in down dog, we all meet there. And then on your in-breath, raise up with your right leg. Bring the right knee into the chest. Come up to the toes of the left foot and step your right foot through. It may be a little harder with the height of the sole of the trainer. Once you've got into a low lunge position, your back knee dropped, bring your kettlebell in towards you, roll the shoulders back, then reach up the kettlebell to the ceiling, holding onto the arms again. We're going to take tricep dips for 10. So let those kettlebells come to the lower part of the neck and then raise back up. 9 more. Keep engaged through the core center. Rib and hip tether. We're getting the strength through the triceps here. That's 3. 7 more to go. 4. Keep nice and strong. Keep squeezing that left bum cheek. 5. 6. Stretch through that left hip flexor as you push those hips forward. 7. 8. And 9. 1 more. And 10. Bring that kettlebell back to the front of the mat. Bring the hands down either side of the right foot, tuck the back toes under, lift the back knee, lift the hips back to down dog. Choice to stay restorative in down dog. If you're coming with me, take a vinyasa. Forward to plank. If you need to drop the knees, release to the floor. Roll through, up, lift up the chest. Make your way back to down dog, either chest to thighs or rolling straight over those toes. Lifting the hips or meeting back in down dog. Taking a breath here. Then on your inhale, left leg lifts. Bring that knee to the chest. Come up onto the toes of the back foot and then step your left foot through. Drop your back knee down and untuck the toes. Take a hold of the kettlebell. Find yourself in your low lunge. Squeeze the right bum cheek to push those hips forward. Raise the arms. And take those tricep dips on this left leg. Release down. And lift back up. That's 1. 9 more to go. Keep nice and strong in the center. 2. And 3. Squeeze that right bum cheek. 4. And 5. 5 more to go. Keep grounded through the floor. 6 by pushing those feet into the mat. 7. And 8. And 9. And 10. Release the kettlebell back to the mat. Your choice here. Step back to plank first and lift the hips, staying down dog. Maybe you want to come to child's pose, maybe you want to take water. If you're coming with me, take a vinyasa. Those triceps are probably burning a little now, so make sure you go with what you feel your body's doing. If you want to challenge it, keep the vinyasas coming. If you want to relax a little bit, then bring yourself down to child's pose or staying down dog. Then take yourself back to down dog to meet me there. Try and squeeze the heels back. Relax through the shoulders. Let the head hang. And then gazing towards the front of the mat, start to walk the feet forward, bringing yourself up to the front. And then allow the body to fold. Let go of everything through the shoulders and the neck, holding each elbow. Maybe take some circles in one direction and then take the circles the other way. Release the arms heavy. Take a hold of your kettlebell and then slowly engaging the back muscles, start to curl up through that spine, 1 vertebra at a time. Coming to standing, roll the shoulders back. Take the kettlebell into the right hand. Left hand onto that left hip, reach the kettlebell up high, and we're taking step backs into a knee drop with that left leg. So keep everything strong in this center. Step back with the left leg, bend your right knee and dip the left knee to the floor. Step back to the front, right arm stays lifted. Step back, drop the knee, step back forward to meet the right. So we have 8 more of those. Keep that arm of the right nice and straight. Try not to dump into that lower back. We have 6 more. Drop that knee. And 5 more. Drop back into that lunge. 4 more. And 3 more. Strong in that lower back. Strong in that raised right arm. 1 more. Come back to the front, release that kettlebell. Take a hold of it in both hands. And then slowly lower into a forward fold. And let that kettlebell sit on that mat. Take a hold of the elbows. Let go of the head. Bend the knees as much as you need to feel comfortable as you lower into your fold, depending on your hamstrings and how they feel. Just take a few moments swinging the arms in circles. Breathing nice and easy. And then take a hold of the kettlebell again with both hands. Engage the muscles in the back as you start to curl up through that spine, using that extra weight. As we come to standing, roll the shoulders back. Bring that kettlebell into that left hand this time. Reach that left hand up to the ceiling. Bring your right hand onto your right hip. And this time we're stepping back with that right foot, dipping that right knee. Step back, hand dip, and step back forward. 9 more. Step back, dip. Try and keep nice and strong. Whoops. Step back, dip. 7 more. Using the strength in that left arm to keep the left hand lifted. And strengthening through the legs to take the dips. I've lost count. I think we have 4 more to go. 3 more. 2 more. Last one. And then bring that kettlebell back down. Hold it in both hands, feet together or slightly apart. Use those back muscles again to slowly transition back down to the floor into your forward fold. Release the kettlebell to the mat. Breath in comes up to a half lift. And then place the hands on the mat. Step yourself back into a plank first. Then lift the hips to down dog. You can choose to take a water break here or child's pose, or if you come in with me, take a vinyasa. Forward to plank, inhale. Release down to a hover or to the floor or drop the knees. Roll through, up, lift up the chest. Make your way back to down dog. Lifting those hips. Squeezing the heels back. And then find everybody in down dog if you've taken a break or if you've taken on water. And then lift up with your left leg. Bring that knee into the chest. Step it through. Drop your right heel down. Take a hold of the kettlebell as you lift up through the shoulders. So your left toes are facing the front of the mat. Your right toes are facing the long edge of the mat. Bring the kettlebell into your right hand and raise that right hand up to the ceiling. Let the kettlebell sit on the front forearm. So we're going to come into lower and lift in our triangle pose. So on your out breath, lower down with that left hand as far as you can, keeping the chest and hips open to the front. Breath in, back to center. We're going to take 10 on this side, lower. And lift, keeping that right arm nice and straight. Lower, try not to lock out in the left knee. And lift. 7 more. Lower, use those oblique muscles to make the movement. lower, and lift. 5 more, lower, and lift. 4 more, lower, keep that right arm as straight as you can, but without locking out that right elbow. Lower, and lift. 2 more, lower, and lift. 1 more, lower, and lift. So turning the toes now. So your left toes face the long edge, your right toes turn to face the back edge. Swap the kettlebell into the left hand and then reach that left hand up to the ceiling. Same on this side with our triangle lift and lowers. Lower on your exhale, lift on your inhale. Keep that left arm nice and straight. 9 more. And lift. 8 more. Keep a bend, micro bend in that right knee, micro bend in that left elbow, and lift. I think we have 5 more. If I'm losing count, I apologise. 4 more. Use that oblique strength. Keep pushing nice and energetically down into the mat. 2 more to go on this side. Last one. Release that kettlebell down. Turn yourself back to the front of the mat. Both feet just slightly apart, toes in front of the heels. And slowly lower down, bringing that kettlebell to the floor. Release the hands to the mat, let go of the head. Breath in, lift to a half lift. Then plant the hands, step yourself back to plank. Or find yourself in child's pose from here or down dog. You can stay in one of those 2 positions or take a vinyasa with me. Forward to plank. Remember to hydrate if you wish and the body needs it. Lifting up, making your way back to down dog. Lifting the hips, squeezing the heels back. Or coming onto the knees, just take a moment to take on a drink. It's the last cue I'll give you for drinking. If you need to stop at any point, feel free to stop. Find your way back into your down dog space. Let go of the head. Maybe have a little paddle of those feet. Movement through those hips. And then looking between the hands, you can either step or jump to the front of the mat and allow that body to fold over those legs. Heel toe the feet out so the hip width or slightly wider. Take a hold of the kettlebell in between the feet. Hold it on the outside arms. On your inhale, lift to the chest. Reach up to the ceiling, back to the chest, back towards the floor. Lift up to the chest, push the hips forward, lift to the ceiling, back to the chest, and back to the floor. Lift up to the chest, push the hips forward, up to the ceiling, back to the chest, and back to the floor. Lift up, squeeze those glutes, up, down, back to the floor. Lift up, ceiling, chest, floor. Up, ceiling, chest, and floor. 2 more of these. Back to the chest, up to the ceiling, back to the chest, back to the floor. 1 more. Up, lift, chest, floor. This time we're going to be doing rowing, so take a hold of it on top of the arm of the kettlebell. Lift up to the chest, up to the chin, sorry, back to the hips, back to the floor. Up to the hips, up to the chin, back to the hips, back to the floor. Squeeze the bum as you lift the arms, back to the hips, back to the floor. Hips, chin, hips, fold to the floor. Hips, chin, hips, floor. Squeeze that bum nice and firmly as you lift up. Really work those glutes. So we've just got one more of these after we've finished this one. Hips, chin, hips, and floor. So just widen those legs a little wider now. Take the weight into your right hand, and we're going to do the forearm bend, the elbow bends, but keeping our back in this 90-degree angle tabletop position. We're going to alternate the arms, toes in front of the heels, soften the knees, raise up, swap hands, raise the left, swap hands, right, swap hands, and left, swap hands. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. 1. Keep that back nice and strong. Don't lose that support in the lower spine. 3 more both sides. That's 1. That's 2. And that's 3. Lower the kettlebell back to the floor, heel toe the feet back together. Take a half lift, place the hands this time on the shins, and then release yourself forward, place the hands to the floor, step back into a plank first, and then lift the hips to down dog second. Your choice to stay in down dog or come to child's pose or take some water. If you're coming with me, take a vinyasa. Forward to plank, you can drop the knees, you can lower all the way to the floor or a hover. Let the elbows graze the ribs. Lift up the chest, take it into a back bend. Make your way back to down dog, where we all meet in our downward facing dog position. Relax the shoulders, give that head a nod and a shake. And then gazing in between the hands, take a bend in the knees, step or jump to the front of the mat, and allow that body to fold over the legs. Take a hold of the elbows, traction the shoulders and the neck. Maybe take some circles in one direction, maybe in the opposite way. Release the arms to be heavy. Take a hold of the kettlebell, and then slowly use the muscles in the back to slowly lift up with the torso and relax the shoulders down. So we're going to be taking it into warrior 3, lifting and lowering. So making sure you have your right hand with the kettlebell in, your left hand on the left hip. And we're going to lift the right leg and lower with the torso. So keeping the toes of the right foot back towards the shin as you lower down, kettlebell touches the floor, and then lift back up. We have 9 more this side. Lower, lifting the right leg, dropping the kettlebell to the floor, and lift. That left hand is on the left hip. Lower again, squeeze that right bum cheek, and lift. We have 6 more. And lift. Try and keep well supported through that left leg. Keep grounding into the whole of that left foot. 4 more. Try and keep nice and stable. Keep the gaze and the focus to something in front of you. Pelvis stays neutral as you lift that right leg. 2 more. And 1 more. And then swap the kettlebell into the left hand. Right hand onto the right hip. Weight into the right foot. And do the same on this left side. Left leg lifts as you drop the kettlebell towards the floor. And then lift back up. Left leg lifts. And lift back up. 8 more. Left leg lifts. Lift back up. 6 more. Keep those toes of the left foot back to the shins. Keep that pelvis nice and neutral. 4 more. Warrior 3 as we lower and lift back to mountain pose. 2 more. Keeping nice and stable on that standing right leg. The trainers really help to support you, as you should have a good supported sole. Last one. And lift back up. Have the feet just slightly apart, kettlebell in both hands. Use the back muscles as you lower that kettlebell all the way to the mat. Let go of the kettlebell, forward fold, let go of the head. Come up to a half lift, hands on shins. And then place the hands down. Step back to plank. Lift up the hips, squeeze the heels back. Your choice to vinyasa, child's pose, down dog, water, whichever you wish to go with. Forward to plank inhale and release. Down to a hover. Lift up with the chest and take yourself back to down dog. Lifting the hips, squeezing those heels back. All meeting down dog first. And then when you've met in down dog, take a gaze between the hands. Set your right foot to the right hand, left foot to the left hand. Take a hold of the kettlebell. And then slowly lift all the way up to standing. So taking a hold of the kettlebell at the side arm. We're going to raise the kettlebell up to the ceiling and bring it back and squat to the floor. Reach out with the kettlebell back to the chest, up to the ceiling. Squat to the floor. Reach out with the kettlebell back to the chest, up to the ceiling. Squat to the floor. Out with the kettlebell back to the chest. That's 3. Take those squats as low as you can go. That's 4. We have 10 to do. We have 5 more. Push out, back in, push into the feet, raise the hands, back to the chest, down to a squat, push out, back, lift, raise the arms. 2 more. Last one. Bring the kettlebell back to the hips. Bring the feet back slightly together. And then lower, using the back muscles, nice and controlled. Bringing that kettlebell back to the mat. Release over the thighs. Breath in, half lift. Breath out, plant the hands, step yourself back to plank first, and then lift the hips back to down dog. Your choice, plank. On the inhale, release, hover, or to the floor, then lift up into your up dog or cobra, and release back to your down dog. Take a little paddle through the feet. We have one more kettlebell pose to go, courtesy squats. Gaze in between the hands, take a bend in the knees, you can step or jump. Front of the mat and allow that body to fold over those thighs. Let go of the head, take a hold of the elbows, take some circles in one direction, soften off those shoulders. Take those circles the opposite way. Knowing when you add weight into a sequence of yoga, it starts to create a little more strength of the practice, adding to our body weight. Let the arms be heavy. Take a hold of the kettlebell and slowly curl up through that spine, all the way up to standing, and roll those shoulders back. So bring your kettlebell into your right hand. Bring your left hand out to the side. I'm just going to turn to face the camera here. Reach up with the kettlebell in the right hand. And then on your out breath, take a courtesy squat with the left behind and drop the kettlebell to the elbow. Come back up, both legs together, and then take the squat again. Kettlebell comes to the shoulder. Lift up, and then take the courtesy squat. Lift up, courtesy squat. That's 4. Lift up, courtesy squat. 5, lift up, courtesy. 6, lift up, courtesy, up. That's 8. 2 more to go. Left arm is out for balance. 1 more. And lift. Bring that kettlebell down. Take the kettlebell into the left hand. And we'll curtsy squat with the right leg. Left hand lifts, right hand out to the side. On your out breath, curtsy squat with the right kettlebell to the shoulder. Lift everything back up, straighten back up. 1, 2, 3. Keep strong in the outside of that left hip. 4 and 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Bring that kettlebell back. Both hands holding on to the kettlebell. We're going to do some kettlebell swings for the last of this practice. Feet hip width apart or slightly wider. Bend into the knees, bring the kettlebell back, squeeze the bum as you lift up. Making sure you're nice and strongly holding on to that kettlebell. Getting that momentum from swing. Knees tracking the toes as you bend. Squeeze the bum as you lift. Taking it into a tiny little bit of cardio before we bring ourselves down. Ten more. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release the kettlebell back to the floor with a nice gentle fold over those thighs. Release it to the mat, let the head hang, take a hold of the elbows. Try and grab hold of the breath again here. Let a little movement come through the shoulders, come through the head. Release the hands down. Breath in, come to a half lift. Breath out, plant the hands, step yourself back into a plank. Lift the hips, down dog. Take one more vinyasa if that's where you're choosing to go, or find your way to child's pose. Feeling that strength in the upper body, strength through the legs, the back, the core center. When you come to down dog, take a breath there. And then all of us meet in child's pose. Knees nice and wide, big toes come together, your sit bones come back to the heels. Reaching forward with the fingertips. Breathing into that space of child's pose. Relaxing through the shoulders, relaxing through the neck. Start to connect back with that breath again. Nice long deep breaths in. And long breaths out. Walk the hands to your right side mat, bring your left hand on top of the right, chest to sink to the inside of that right thigh, nudging that left sit bone back towards that left heel and breathing into that left rib cage. Walk the hands back to center. And then over to your left side. Right hand on top of the left. Sink your chest to the inside of that left thigh. Breathe into the right rib cage and encourage the right sit bone back to that heel. Just feeling that stretch in that lower back. Then walking your hands back into center. Threading your left hand underneath your right armpit. Bring the forehead back to the floor. Stretch through those deltoid muscles in the shoulders as you settle the weight of your torso back over that left shoulder. Those arms have done a fair bit of work while we've been holding on to that kettlebell, adding that extra weight to practice. And then release that left hand back to meet the right. Take it then onto the other side. So thread your right hand under, turn the right palm up, forehead back to the floor. You may notice one shoulder's tighter than the other. My right one is definitely tighter. Then reach back out with that right hand. Just let the body settle in neutral for a breath. Then walk the hands back in towards you, bringing the knees together in the center. Keeping the sit bones on the heels, hands onto the thighs. Close the eyes. Just take a moment just to notice how your body feels after the practice. Maybe those shoulders are tight, maybe the legs are tight. Easy breaths. Your next breath in, bring the hands up and over the head, bring the hands together at the top, then bring the hands to the chest. Push the palms together, just a little activation through the arms for one last time. Breathe in wisdom and peace, breathe out love and joy. Namaste. So I hope you enjoyed that practice of kettlebell work. It's quite a strong practice. I will be leaving that up live on my YouTube channel basically forever, so practice it now, and after a week's time I will be opening it up to the public, so feel free to do that whenever you wish. Really good for strengthening the upper body. Thanks guys, namaste, see you soon.